Hi FlossTube, it's Diane. I thought I would do my May update. I know it's a few days, let's see, today's the 4th of June, so I'm a few days late, but I was waiting for something to come and it finally came yesterday. My kids are outside the door playing Play-Doh because there's tile outside my bedroom door and I prefer Play-Doh on tile rather than on carpet. And I went to Toys R Us yesterday and bought them in a box of 20 different colors. So it keeps them busy. It's really wet. We've had a lot of wet weather this week, and today is no exception. So, Play-Doh, mud. Ding, ding, ding. Play-Doh wins. But, yeah, how do I want to do this? I have haul, whips, finish, etc. But I'm going to start here with this picture. That picture is my 11-year-old son. And that is his first cross-stitch project. Yay! It is a Joan Elliott pattern. It was a kit I bought at Joann's. I don't remember the company who made the kit, if it was Design Works or... It was not Dimensions, but I don't remember the kit company. It originally said Another Bad Hair Day, but he's a boy, and as you can see from his haircut, yeah. So he said, Mom, I want to change the words. I'm like, yeah, you can change the words. It's not a problem. So he thought about it, and oh, maybe I should change it to this, and maybe I should change it to this. And then he said, oh, Mom, how about Another Windy Day? And so I charted the windy, and I helped him with the dot on the I and his initials. Other than that, he did all the stitching. He was very excited. It was kind of funny because he finished it Tuesday night, and I had another kit, and I said, you know, do you want to do this other kit when you're done? Because he was like, oh, what else can I do? And so then that night, all night, Mom, I should start that other kit. I really should. I thought, where have I heard that before? So I think he's got the bug, which is a good thing. I wanted to teach him cross-stitching for a few reasons. One, he has an interest. Two, it keeps your hands busy, and there are more and more studies coming out that working with your hands, stitching, knitting, crocheting, sewing, gardening, whittling, carving, doing word puzzles where you physically have to write it down, something about your hands and your brain working together definitely can reduce stress in your life. Blood pressure. I mean, I knew a person growing up, and he started crocheting, and his blood pressure went way down. He was on medications and stuff for his blood pressure, and he still had to be on his medications, but they were able to lower the dose. If he could just crochet for 20 minutes, he was in a high-stress job. If he could crochet for 20 minutes, they were able to lower his meds. Maybe even remove him off of one, but he still had to have some. And so studies are showing that working with your hands, you know, doing stuff like we're doing in our cross-stitching, actually reduces all those stress things in your blood. I'm going to turn you just a shade. There we go. There also are new studies that are being done that something with working with your hands can reduce some of the dementia symptoms, Alzheimer's issue type of things. They're not conclusive at this point, and it's not a cure by any means, but it's one tool that can be used. So learning a craft is a good thing for all of us to do, in my opinion, but also to help his reading. And I know that may sound odd, but he has struggled with reading, and just watching him, and I've gone through this with one of my older children. When he reads English, when we read English, you know, left to right, his eyes will skip around. Well, think about it for a minute. When you cross stitch, this is how I'm teaching him. You start at the left, and you go to the right, and you look for all the same symbol. So you do half stitch, because he has not done specialty stitches or fibers yet, just basic cross stitch. And then you come back, and then you go down to the next line, and you find that symbol, and then you come back. So it's a way of training his eyes to stay on the same line. I'm doing other things with him too. If you have a child who struggles with reading, I encourage you to do martial arts with that child, because we do Taekwondo, and a lot of their forms and kicks and punches, you have to take your right hand and touch your left elbow, or attack their right side with your left. That something about the right and the left intermixing and interacting helps brain communication, which helps reading. Also doing some visual puzzles and that kind of thing. But cross stitch, I thought, you go line by line. Or at least I do, and that's how I'm teaching him. So he was so proud of his first project. He's almost done with the second kit. Although, to be honest, it's a small kit and most of it's back stitching. So I went to Hobby Lobby yesterday because I was looking for a frame, and I found one, and I'll show that in a little bit. But I found this one, and these were on sale. Kits were 30% off, 40% off, something like that. And this one, it is called, it's a matted accents. What's their name? Oh, Light at Sea. Light at Sea, and it's a dimensions kit. And it comes with the mat. So this mat would fit in an 8x10 frame, and then this stitched area is, I think it's 4x6. Yeah, 4x6. So he may stitch on this one, or he may save it for our sibling. But this is the one I really bought for him. We were looking, okay, kind of, because to be honest, it's hard to find kits that are masculine themed or even unisex themed. A lot of them are very feminine, and yeah, more women cross stitch at this point. The reason I do a kit rather than kit something up, although Etsy is somebody, I threw this out on Facebook, and somebody said, well, what about Etsy? And I'm like, yeah, I have an Etsy account. There's some designers on there I really like. It's all their original work. That may be a possibility in the future. But the reason I got a kit is the kids know I'm pretty protective of my cross-stitch stuff. And I thought, well, if it's a kit, then he owns it. He can take responsibility. He does very good on that part. Because I thought, well, and if they lose something, it's not out of my stuff. But he did really well keeping track of his kit and everything. And they can take ownership of it, but also they don't have to worry that mom's going to freak out because floss is on the floor or anything. Because it's their own kit. They own it. So that's why I did kits. And I think I'm going to do that for a little while longer, and then eventually I'll get him his own floss box and all that stuff. But I found this one. The Dimensions kit. It is called Wise Owl. This is definitely going to be a challenge for him. It's 14 count, which he's been stitching on, so that part won't be a challenge. Here are all the threads. He really liked that they were all organized, because the other kits were not. But it is 14 by 11 inches. I don't know if that's the frame size or the stitching area size. But he likes owls. So I found this one. This has a bunch of half stitch, especially in the background. He has not done that yet. I don't think it'll be too hard for him. A lot more back stitching. He's done back stitching. Looks like there's a French knot in the eye. But other than that, I think he can handle this. It will take him a while, and it'll be a challenge for him. But I think it'll be good. And look at all those colors. Browns and this oranges and grays, and yeah, I showed it to him, and he's like, oh, wow. So I got that for him. This one he'll definitely stitch. I'm also working with my 7-year-old, and she just finished her first project, although I don't know where it's at to show you. It's just a little kit. Took her a while because she has a shorter attention span, typical 7-year-old, but she started her second kit now, same size. I'm also teaching my 9-year-old, and his is about the same size as my 11-year-old son's. And then my 13-year-old, she already knows how to stitch, but it's interesting. You know, I always thought, oh, you know, let's stitch, and we could sit around and just... You don't get a lot of stitching done when you're teaching children to stitch. Yeah. I had a laugh because last week I was trying to stitch on my anniversary sampler, and all 4 of them had questions for me. So I put okay, no, you need help with the French knot, okay. And you needed a working copy, because the kit that I bought for my 7-year-old, the second one, the pattern was this big. It was tiny. My 13-year-old said, Mom, there is no way we can read this. So I was able to get it on my printer and enlarge it. So now they can print it, and I'm encouraging my kids at this point in time to mark it off when they're done stitching. They might not need to do that all the time, but for now they do. And I don't do that on every pattern. Some patterns I do, but I don't do that on every pattern. So, yeah, I wanted to share his finish, and thank you for those. I shared it on Instagram and I shared it on Facebook. And cross-stitch finish, cross-stitch, it's fun, I think. I don't remember if I put it in the Stitch Mania group or not, or the cross-stitch finish line group. I know I put it in cross-stitch, it's fun. Thank you for those of you who saw his picture and commented. Your comments, I mean, he had almost 200 likes on Instagram, and yeah, he has dimples. I know in that picture you can't see him, but he does have dimples. And I read the comments, and I showed him the likes, and his dimples were showing. So thank you. We want to encourage the younger generation, to get involved in this craft, because the reality is once you introduce one craft, then they take a step to try another craft. And with Joshua, I did teach him the cross stitch, and he thought it was okay. But then he came across knitting, and those of you who follow him, you know where that's gone. So, yeah, one craft can lead to another, and they find their niche, so to speak. But I have a finish, too, to share. And I just thank you for encouraging him. I think he's got the bug. I haven't taken him to Stitchville yet. I think that would be too much for him at this point. It's almost too much for me, and I've been a customer of theirs for 20 years. But I was working on this during the month of May. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it when it was done. My house really isn't beach-themed, tropical-themed at all. It's more, well, it's eclectic for sure. More cabin-y, woodsy feel to it. Maybe you're an old farmhouse rather than tropical. But then our friends had their little baby girl. And the dad is Hawaiian. I cannot remember if both of his parents are Hawaiian or just one, but he was born in Hawaii, and they chose to give their daughter a Hawaiian middle name. Obvious what I was going to do with this, so I made this into a burst sampler, or announcement, and I'll show it to you here in a minute. I did make some changes, though. The hair is charted for 310 DMC. I used filament silk from Fiberlicious called Black Rose. She is discontinuing her filament silk, so if you like filament silk or want to try it, go check out her website, because when it's gone, it's gone. I think it has to do with the supply of that particular silk. Something's changed on it. But her spun silk and her hand-dyed cottons are wonderful. So go check her out if you're looking for hand-dyed. And her customer service is excellent. Do be aware, though, that she is moving. So she is shutting down her store in July and then reopening in August. So she's going from the East Coast to the West Coast. So it's a big move. But yeah, nice. Oh, her customer service is excellent. Her products are excellent. I will say that filament silk can be tricky to stitch with. It is very slippery. I love it a lot better than rayon. Anything's better than rayon. But I had 3 strands to get the coverage for the hair. And having 3 strands go through your needle at the same tension and then through the fabric at the same, yeah, I had to take my time. And often, every stitch, I had to adjust something. So I was figuring out what strand, what hadn't gone all the way through. So yeah, it took a little while, but I like it that it has a hint of a sheen. Not glossy, but there's a little more sheen to it. Also, you see these blue areas here? That is actually the background fabric showing through. And if you think about it, a grass skirt, you would see legs. But I could also see where, how would you put legs in here that people would know that those were legs? Yeah, I could see where that caused some issues, and that's why they were left out. Well, I chose to fill those areas in. And the pattern was a, let's see, I can look. Okay, it was a water lily, DMC, water lily, DMC, water lily, DMC. So I just kept that pattern all the way through, and most of the open areas I put in DMC. But here she is. Also, I'm going to borrow an idea from Oh So Crafty, Foam Core. It's going to be folded differently because you don't need to, like, baby privacy. Baby privacy. I'm going to try and get it so you can see the design. There we go. So here she is. And as you can see here, I filled it all in, and I like it filled in. And she has bling, bugle beads, seed beads. She has some treasures. Let's see, here's 1, 2, 3 of them. I did not do skin 1/1. I like the effect. I don't have the patience to do it though. And this color here is the multicolor flower here. It is a water lily. It is called Tequila Sunrise. And so I chose to do that date and the name in the same color. She has a lot of bling. Her hair, her lei, her skirt. For the name, I did the first name and the middle name, but I took one of the flowers, either from her hair or from the lei. I can't remember which one I chose. And I put it, so you have the first name, flower, middle name. So to kind of keep the pattern. And again, I used this color for the name. The fabric is 32 count linen. It is opalescent, so it sparkles. It is Under the Sea Fabrics, and it is Shimmering Seas. The 2-year-old's having a meltdown. See, Trish, you're not alone. Life happens. I have to put my initials on, and obviously press this. But here's the frame that I found for her. Hoping they had a white one, but I couldn't find a white one in this size. I probably will not have glass when I frame it to give it to them. And they'll appreciate it a lot. Yeah. I made a receiving blanket, and they absolutely love the receiving blanket. So they will appreciate it. So I have that to frame. And then the piece that I was waiting for. Last September, I started my first round robin with the group on Facebook, Cross Stitch Friends. Cross Stitch Friends. I'll have to put a link below. And this is the one I chose. I went to 123 Stitch. It was a sampler theme, and I put in samplers, and this came up, among others. And I really liked it. I thought it was very unique. It has 27 shades of green. If you didn't like green, it'd be very easy to do 27 shades of blue, purple, red, yellow. I thought it would look nice, like a black to really light gray. But each motif, there it is. Each motif is one color. So it makes it a pretty portable project in that respect. And I like Ink Circle's designs. Their patterns, they're a little enlarged, so they're easy to read. I knew this would not be done when it came back, and that was fine. I even asked Tara. Tara C. was one of the admins for our round robin, and I said, is this too big? Am I thinking right? Am I not thinking right? And after our discussion, I told her, I said, you know, I know it's not going to be complete when it comes back, and I have no problem with that. So, little man is having an issue. Before I sent this out, I stitched this guy. He is the biggest motif, and I didn't want anybody to freak out when they thought, oh my word, she wants me to stitch what? He is the biggest motif. Also, if you look, he is not exactly in the center. The center actually is about here and here. So he is not in the exact center, and for placement on the piece of fabric, I wanted to make sure we got it right so there was enough room for the whole project, because it's a big project and it's a big piece of fabric. But then I also thought, well, that'll give people, you know, okay, here's the big guy, I can count over and work on this motif. Or I can count over and work on this motif. So it would give them an anchor point. And I took this when my son was in driving school. Because again, it only needed one floss. And that big guy took almost 3 skeins. Why is he freaking out? That is not a I'm hurt cry. That's a my feelings are hurt. People are not doing what I want cry. So, and he's one that when he has his little meltdowns, if he's upstairs, he will put himself in his own bed, have his meltdown, and he'll come out. It's kind of funny. But here is where it is at. I'm going to hold it back and then I'll kind of zoom in. Here's where it's at right now. About halfway done. I asked people, when they did a motif, here are my initials, to put their initials by the motif. And so people put their initials by the motifs that they stitched. Well, this guy doesn't have one. This one does. So, I think that adds character to this piece. It's 32 count. I think it's cream or antique ivory. Or ivory. I got it from 123 Stitch. But here are some of the motifs. And there's the big guy that I stitched. Trying to position it so I can see what you're seeing. And some of the other ones. Oh, yeah, like the mushrooms and the bees, the dragonfly. And there'll be a peacock over here. There's a quail over here somewhere. And some other big motifs. Oops. So now I need to figure out when I'm going to put this in my rotation, because I want to finish this one. It's going to be huge. Wow, this is going to be huge to frame. But I like it. And this is the piece that made me fall in love with Ink Circles designs. And so I encourage you to try a round robin if it works in your schedule, in your life. They are fun. Of the 10 projects that I stitched on, including this one, 7 of them were designers I had never stitched on before. So it was a lot of fun. I'm not going to do a round robin like that for a while because of life. Eventually I'll do one again because it was a lot of fun, but not right now. So I'm going to cheer people on from the sidelines, because right now they're doing Lizzie Kate. I think there's a subversive one. They're getting ready to start a band sampler one. Or 2 band samplers. The one that I participated in was focused on the US, but they have one set up, and I think it's running right now, that's in the UK, or maybe in all of Europe. So, yeah, if you live outside the US, it is still possible to do a round robin through this group. You talk to the admins, and Tara is one of the admins. Also, there are 2 admins to the group, I think. Maybe there's more. Those are the 2 I know, because they were admin of my particular round robin. Trying to figure out where I want to go next. Let's see. Yesterday, I was able to go to Stitchville, my LNS. Yeah, that's where I'll go. A piece that I'm working on, that I mentioned I was stitching my anniversary sampler, and I see I'm seeing the end of the project coming pretty soon here. Here's where I'm at. Trying to get it. So. This is a really good idea stuff. When I showed this last, I had all the stitching done, but I didn't have the back stitching. So I've been able to add the back stitching, all these little vines, and all these little vines up the sides are things I've added. I didn't stitch on this very much. My son graduated in May, so I didn't have a whole lot of stitching time, and when I did, I focused on Leilani. So, but I did get a little bit in this, and I started stitching. It's not wanting to cooperate with me. In the top area, let me show you a picture. That would probably help you see what it's going to look like. This uses DMC, it uses water lilies, it uses weeks, it uses threadworks, and here's what it's going to look like. Well, almost. Stony Creek Magazine, June 2009. So as you can see, the main area I have to stitch is that top part. And that's where I started here. And then there's a little row of flowers, and then I've had this silk part done for a while, but the colors up here, a lot of them are in this box, and so I'm going to fill that in so it looks like this box. A lot of little confetti in there. And there's also a row of flowers along here. But this part down, stitching is all done. And this way, stitching is all done. So there's a little thing of flowers, and then this area. In these little boxes are satin hearts. What was weird about this pattern, and I didn't realize it until fairly recently, they suggested using 2 strands of pearl cotton. This is pearl cotton ecru, number 8. That would be hard. I only used 1 strand. I like the 1 strand better, personally. I mean, you'd get more dimension with 2 strands, but I think it would be more of a pain in the neck, in my opinion. But I missed our 20th anniversary with this project, so I'm making it our 25th. So I am going to be changing this to say 25 years, and I haven't decided if I'm doing the white there. So when I went to Stitchville, and my phone is going to jump about 33 minutes in here. Stay. When I went to Stitchville, because I'm close, my bag of floss opened up. Because I'm close to the end of this project, I wanted to get the embellishments. I tend to buy the embellishments when I'm done with the project, when I'm done stitching with the project, rather than everything up front, if I can. Some projects you can't do that. Okay. So I was able to get some embellishments for this particular project. So the 25 years, I'm going to stitch in this. It's PB70. I had a bright silver Petite Treasure braid, but I wanted something that was a little more subtle. With this color, I think it will work better. And I'm not sure if I'm going to stitch the word anniversary in this also. I'll stitch the year, 25 years. And they do have a number alphabet in there. And see if I like it, and then if I want to stitch that word anniversary in silver, otherwise I'll do anniversary in white. But then the project calls for a charm, 2 charms actually. A charm at the top and a charm at the bottom. And so this is the charm that they called for. That will go at the top. This little heart with vines. Don't want to lose that. And then they didn't have, well, they had the exact heart, but it was in the wrong color because I wanted a silvery. It's kind of an antique silver nickel color. This one's a little different, but it's really pretty. Cut out heart there. So I was able to get those, and this one will go at the bottom. it will go right here, the big one will, and the small one kind of where it'll go above the 25 years. Make sure these are closed so I don't lose them. And then I am going to use, because it calls for pearl beads, but because it's 25 silver, I'm going to use these. Magnifica glass beads 10089. They're not a super shiny silver, it's kind of pewtery silver, but I think it'll work really nice on this project. So I was able to pick that up, but of course, you don't go to your L&S. Well, I have done it. I have actually walked into my L&S and only bought 2 things and walked out. Totally surprised my husband, but I did it. But yesterday was not that day. Oh, I was going to grab this project, but oh well. Yesterday was not the day. I checked out their clearance section, and they have like an 8-foot table with boxes of books, and this is what I found for. If I had sat there and gone through all the boxes, but la-di-da, rejoice always, and this calls for sampler threads. I thought that was really cute. La-di-da, catch a falling star. How many of you had Princess Diaries running through your head right now? Because this song they sang was prior to her meeting Julia Andrews, or maybe she met her. Because then her hair was all frizzy. This is the song they were singing. And this calls for either NPS silks or NP silks or DMC. And tin roof is the color of the linen on there. I don't know if I'll do those colors. I think the rainbow, or excuse me, the umbrella should be blue and the stars should be gold, but I'll worry about that. And again, these were in the clearance section. La-di-da, rise and shine. And this calls for silks or DMC. Stony Creek, more fun flakes. Okay, this guy says welcome. This guy says peace. This guy says wise men still seek him. Snowmen and God's love made all of us is this one. I like snowmen. I like Stony Creek charts. Is it $3? $4. Normally $8. Midnight Star Elizabeth Designs. So it came upon a Midnight Clear. It came upon a midnight clear, that glorious song of old. So the Christmas hymn. And there are some specialty stitches in the trees. And on these bands here and up here, the cross is a specialty stitch. And these hearts. I thought that was really cute. And this is Little Lamb's Birth Announcement by Memories Made by Hand. I thought it was silks, but actually it's DMC, although you can convert it to silks pretty easy. I like kind of the antique look. Forest of Trees, hands-on design, or sorry, Heart and Hand, wrong company. And there's actually a button right here. But they're, I know a forest. So. Where'd the other one go? Lizzie Kate, Summer Button-Up. That was $3.75. This silk, Silken Colors, 7 yards, hand-dyed silk, Midsummer Vineyard. It was in their clearance section. Or it was in a clearance bin bucket. It's multi-strands, but I'm not sure how many strands are in it. I'm thinking 12. Definitely more than 6. And then this one, Abby Lane Designs Sonata. I thought that was really, really pretty. And I bought, this was not in clearance, but a Gloriana silk to stitch it on, or stitch it in. I have a antique blue, twilight blue, maybe a gray. I'm going to choose between those colors to stitch it on. It's 130 stitches by 129. You only use one strand of the silk. So, and I also bought a spool of 9mm thread. Their cost was the same cost as Joann's, and it's 72 yards. This is what I use for my beading. I do not like using invisible thread. I have used the DMC color, but I like this better. It's a little stronger. I feel like I can tug and not distort the project. And this white, they also had a black or gray. It blends with so many different things. So I got that because I was getting low. These 4 threads, Yield Gold, Cocoa, Onyx, and Peach Fuzz. These are for a project that I bought when I was in Cincinnati, Joy to the World by Lizzie Kate. It came with the fabric in the pattern, and I had all the other colors. So I also got this one to do another pattern that I bought in Cincinnati. The Giving Thanks, something when I stitch with needle and thread. I can't remember. I left the pattern in there. But that one came with the fibers and not the fabric. So now I can stitch it. And then I also purchased a couple birthday gifts that I'm not going to show because I don't know if they watch my video or not. But I found Butterfly Fairy. I don't know why I haven't seen this one before. I don't know. It came out in 2004. And I found this fabric to stitch around. It's called English Rose. The standard, it's not coming out the exact color. Yeah. I typically go for greens and blues and grays as my background. So I said no on this project. I want something a little more pinkish. But she has a lot of bright pinks in her. So this one's more subtle pink. So I think it'll look really nice. I haven't tossed the floss on there. But I'm thinking it'll look nice. She doesn't have any Krenix or special fibers. She does have beads though. And I have most of them in my collection. Although a couple of them I need multi-packs. I'll see if I have enough when I get that far. She's pretty. She isn't as big as some of the ladies, and she's not as small as some of the pixies. So she's in between. But that was fun to go there yesterday and just hang out. Because I might not be able to do that for a while. But, let's see, the ladies at the table that at the retreat in April, there were 7 of us, and it was like I've known these ladies forever. It was so much fun. So, in those pictures, I can't remember if it's 43, video 43, 44, right in there. I showed in the last about 10 minutes pictures of all the finishes that were at the retreat. There were 166 of them, and no, they were not all mine. 5 of them were mine. But you walk in this room, and you just see all these finishes on the wall. So I tried to take a picture of them, kind of give you that kind of experience of walking in and seeing, okay, if you look on this wall, this is what you see, and this one, this is what you see. In there were some round robin projects, and so someone in our group, they took bits and pieces of Mirabilia's or Nora Corbett's and they put them together in a project. and someone in our group was inspired, and nobody's admitting anything. But I said, oh, we should do that. Okay. Someone came up with the layout, and then it was kind of agreed upon. Kind of came to be. But I chose for mine the flower pixies. There are several series of the flower pixies, the pixies that are named after specific flowers. And I have really fallen in love with those. As in, it's pretty much what my 1, 2, 3 wish list was full of, is those. But with Morning Glory, Bluebell, Water Lily, Holly, let's see, Bluebell is from Spring Garden Party Collection, and so is Lily, or Water Lily, excuse me. There is a lily pattern, so that's totally different. Holly, Pixie Couture, Orchid, Spring Garden Party Collection, Geranium, Pixie Blossoms Collection, and Wisteria, Pixie Blossoms Collection. I have stitched the Morning Glory, this one, Pixie Couture Collection, and this is where my project's at. Somebody who did the original layout, yeah, the big box and then 3 boxes, but I changed it. So I am going to have the faces stitched in these boxes here. I need 2 more. I've already marked on those are charts I own, so I marked on my own chart, colored pencil, the area I'd like stitched in these bigger boxes. In these smaller boxes, there are design aspects in here, like a swirl and a skirt, a flower, a little, I can't think of what it's called. Like on this one, she's got these little swirls off her feet. But they're little design elements that they could, the other ladies, they could surprise me in that area. But I've modified it because these little boxes originally were not part of the project, but I changed it. I'm stitching this in Krennic, my frames, in Krennic number 034. It's called Confetti. It is a number 4 braid. I am not using a typical X. I changed it. Sorry. There we go. A typical X, you have 1 stitch wide, 1 stitch high. I am doing an X that's 1 stitch wide, 2 stitches high. So you do your X. But instead of having an X, you actually overlap the next X. Do the X, and then you overlap. And you keep going up. And it gives, I can't remember exactly what it's called. I know it's a technique. I've used it before in a project. I can't remember what it's called. It's a long cross stitch, but the overlapping, it's not the plate stitch. The plate stitch is different, especially on a linen. On a plate stitch, you're hitting every single hole in the project, not with this technique that I'm talking about. But you get a little bit, almost a braided effect going around the box. And I don't think you're going to be able to see it. See the individual X's. You can see the sparkle. I don't think you're going to be able to see the individual X, but that little bit of overlap gives it more dimension, but it also gives kind of a braided look as you go up. Kind of a friendship braid look. But I can't remember the exact name of it. I'm sorry. It's really easy to do. It's not hard to do at all. And here's the Morning Glory, the section that I took from her. And she has Krennic in her. You can see in her hair, tip of her wing, in her dress. You will notice, though, that there's no beads on her. When I send this out, I am going to send out the Krennics. So I bought all the Krennics. well, I had a lot of them in my collection, but the ones I didn't have, I purchased. But I'm not sending the beads. We have to admit here in the US that the USPS is not exactly gentle on packages. I've had mail come dirty. I mean, like mud splattered dirty. I've had it come with tire tracks on it. And it's not the mail carriers, because our mail carrier, I love her. She is so nice. So nice. Sweet, sweet woman. There's something about their sorting facility, machine, I don't know. Somewhere along the line. I just know it's not her. So I can't imagine, and these beads, this project is not going to just go to one house. It's going to end up going to 6 other houses before it comes back to mine. I'm not sure how those little packages of beads would survive. And I thought, well, you know, I have my tiny bead system container thing, and I thought, oh, but what if they crush the containers? Yeah, you go get more from Joann's. What a pain in the butt. But those could possibly burst, even if I package them really well and we all yeah. It's just too chancy. Not to mention the fact that I like my beads put on a certain way. I didn't think I was picky, but I am. So when it comes back to me, I'll put the beads on. Also, so many of us in our group use hoops or Q-snaps or frames. Well, when you have beads, you have to be careful where you put stuff. So I said, you know what? Don't worry about the beads. When it comes back to me, I'll put the beads on, because I like to bead. So that's why, let's see, especially here, like at the top of her dress, there's supposed to be beads there, like she has a kind of a beaded edging to her bodice. And I know there's beads in her hair and kind of floating around here. And these kind of tendrils that are hanging down from her hands, there's beads there too. So there are no beads in her, and there won't be any beads on the project till I put them there. Also, the pattern calls for white, but I chose to use B5200. I am liking that. So I'm going to slowly over time use up all my white. I have like 10 skeins, so I have a lot to use. And then just use B5200 in my projects. I'm liking that better. The fact. So that's what I'm going to do. When I went to Stitchville, I was able to go to Stitchville with my mom day after open house. She doesn't have a needlework store where she lives, which is really weird, because where my parents live, it would be a good place for a needle store in that area. That area hosts like 20 quilt shops if you go within 50 miles. Yeah, so I don't know why they wouldn't have one needlepoint cross stitch store. It's weird. Anyway, we went there, and I was getting the Krennics that I needed. I needed like 4 or 5 of the Krennics that I didn't have for this particular round robin project. Oh, and I should show you the colors, I suppose. I do have them now. Here are some of them. And one of them calls for this water lily. I think it's bluebell. I think it's in her hair. I didn't have that one. It's kind of surprising. And here are the other colors. So they're not used. They're used on the various ones. And yes, I've checked the area that I marked. All has the Krennic in it. And I really didn't want the ladies to feel, oh, I have to go out and buy Krennic. I said, no, I got it covered. You don't have to worry about it. So, when I was there, and I used Evernote on my phone, and I had the list of the numbers, it said 156. So I looked for Krennic number 4 braid 156. That doesn't exist. There is no such thing. And I thought, well, that was weird. But I knew what pattern it was for, so I went, and it was geranium. And I went, and Stitchville has, you go to the wallpaper store or flooring store, and they have those big panels, and you turn them so you can see all the different samples. Stitchville has something similar for some of their patterns. They're roughly 6 foot high by 4 foot wide. These big panel door thingies. And the Nora Corbett's and the Mirabilias are in those, hanging in those doors, except some of the Christmas Nora ones are elsewhere in the store, and the letters, the mermaid letters and the fairy letters, those are elsewhere in the store, but the majority of them are there. So I was looking, and geranium, oh, it was 15L. Autocorrect. It's evil. So it changed it for me. Thanks a lot, you stupid program. I'm a good speller, but autocorrect, what it puts in some of my messages, and I don't catch it until I send it. I'm like, really? Where did you get that word from? I've never typed that word into my phone. But it changes it to it, because, you know, it just, that's the way it goes. Anyway, so I found it, and I corrected it on my phone. Made my phone keep it correct. And then I started looking at the other pixie patterns. And Fern and Violet fell into my cart, or my basket. They're little baskets that you can use at Stitchville if you want. Fern and Violet. I love their shoes and how they're walking toward you. I like that a lot in these two designs. And these are both from Pixie Couture Collection, 2007, both of them. And so they fell into my cart, or my basket. Well, then I went to look at fabric, and I'm going to stitch both of these on the same piece of fabric. And this is the piece that I chose. This Picture This Plus. It is crystal or opal, and it's called Wren. It has hints of, it's more neutral, but it has hints of green and brown in it. And with those two particular patterns, I think it'll look great. And yes, I did figure out they are roughly 6 by 10 inches and 5.5 by 9. They should fit on here, if I did my math right. So I'm going to put them on the same piece of fabric, and I may even change the design a little bit, but I'll worry about that later. And if I do, I'll definitely tell you. So I also picked up the beads. Each of these two patterns calls for 3 beads. I only had 1 in my stash. And Fern calls for 2 treasure braid. And I knew I didn't have them, either one. So I picked up those at the same time. I also want to, well, eventually when I get all these patterns back that I'm sending off and stuff, I want to stitch all of them anyway, because they're so cute. Plus then get all the other ones. And when I was there at Stitchville yesterday, I almost picked up another pixie. But then I thought, oh no, I want to see if the butterfly fairy, so I have a feeling she's going to be out of print. Not saying she is, but I thought, ooh. And they had her. So I chose that one instead. This is Morning Glory. And I stitched here down to about here. For my round robin project, I want to stitch her by herself. And so this is the piece I chose. It is 32 count Belfast marble. It's just a neutral. And I think she'll look nice on it. I don't know if I'll do all the pixies on this color, but I think the greens will look really nice on this brownish neutral color. So, and again, I'll use B5200 rather than white. So, I picked up that in May. So that's my haul. In June, we're planning on sending these by June 15th. I should have these boxes. I have 5 boxes and 5.5 boxes to do. So I should have these boxes done and have it packaged and ready to mail to the person I mail to. And by the 15th is our goal date. I should have that done. But what else am I going to stitch? Sorry, I must have slept wrong. My neck is really bugging me this morning. For Wine and Whips, this is my main project. This is my oldest or my second oldest whip, or how does Miss Mel say? Inactive project, right? Inactive whip instead of UFO. It was in my UFO bin. This is my main one, and I'm to the point where I'm seeing the end of the rainbow or end of the tunnel type of thing. Because, I mean, this area, yeah, there's a lot of piddly cutting and stuff, but once you get in the groove with this it just goes really fast. I mean, I stitched this and these little flowers and filled in here in a couple hours. It was really going quickly. But then, if I get this done in the month of June, which is possible, I'm at the point I could say it is possible, then I'm going to pull from my UFO bin, because I'm putting Venetian Opulence in my UFO bin. I like the pattern. I like the fabric. I like the colors. I've seen it stitched in, real life. It's just gorgeous. But we are just not cooperating for whatever reason. And I'm probably 60% done on that project. So she will get done, but I'm going to make her inactive. Well, I don't want too many inactive projects. So if this project gets done, I'm going to pull one of my others, which would be my oldest whip. Now, if this isn't my oldest, that project is, and if that project's my oldest, this is my second oldest. It's between the two. I'm not sure which one it is, and my phone just jumped again. It is My Big Toe Designs, Psalm 23, and I'll put a picture here, because I forgot to grab it. And this is where I'm at. As you'll see, I have all the center done. It's just the border. And the border is baby spinach. Can't remember if that's a Weeks or a Gast. That's the entire border. It's a variegated floss, so yeah, you finish every stitch as you go. But it's not overly variegated, but it has enough variegation to keep your interest. It's just the same color. And that thing, it's huge. It's bigger than this project. It is. So the psalm itself is bigger than this, let alone add the border. But I've stitched other My Big Toe Designs, and those borders add a lot of character to the project. So if I get this one done in June, then I will pull out that project and work on that for Wine and Whips. The other stitch along that I'm going to be involved with is Cross Stitch Finish Line, the Summer Solstice one. And that is, this one, the Flip It series, Summer 4 Seasons, 4 Seasons Summer. And I received this as a gift last year, and I also received the fabric. This is 28 count Amber Almond. It's a really pretty color. Eventually, and I'm going to use all the Weeks or Gas that it's charted for. It's gunmetal. I thought it was onyx. Eventually, I would like to get all 4 seasons and do this. I can get this layout for free off of the Lizzie Kate website. But I'm going to be stitching this on June 20th for the summer solstice. And for Stitch Mania, Pretty in Pink, on June 24th. The house is pink, and these strawberries are pink. So I'm going to be stitching on that. So one project, 2 stitch along. I like doing that when I can. So those are my stitching plans at this point in time.